Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Today we're going to be talking about something very, very special that I grew up on and started at some point in my life recently. This whole thing, Michael GoosebumpsFan. I know it's not the perfect channel. I know it could be better. I've tried to make it a little bit better in some respects, and in certain ways I can't achieve certain things. But this channel started a very long time ago because of what I'm about to talk about. Now, of course, R.L. Stine, the very famous Fear Street and Goosebumps creator, he wrote a book. It's one of the earliest books in the original classic series of Goosebumps books. The first ever 62-book collection. There was a book that he published called, and it's number 11, it's Goosebumps the Haunted Mask. Number 11. This book changed everyone who read it. It is just creepy and scary. I actually uploaded the review for this book, and including I showed the reissue cover that recently came out in the last few years that I also love quite a bit. It's just a beautiful color scheme with the black and the red and the mask back here and stuff. Amazing book. Really amazing book. But I think at one point in my life I borrowed the original book from like my school library when I was in elementary school, or somewhere at some point. I think I tried to read the book. I don't know if I ever read the whole book all the way through. Until last year when I did read the book all the way through, and then I currently reread it the other day and then did a review today and everything. The book is amazing. It really is. It's a genuinely special Halloween treat. If you have never seen the episode, you're missing out even more. That's right. The first ever episode from October 27th of 1995, was a premiere. It was a two-part episode. It was directed by Timothy Bond, the same director who adapted Night of the Living Dummy 3 for Goosebumps that I love to death. It's my personal favorite. He did the two-parter of Haunted Mask. Now, you can't get this on DVD as far as I know, at least here in America, or in a Region 1 setting for that matter. But you could get the VHS tape, and thank God I was able to get my hands on this VHS tape. I've been waiting like 2 months to sit down and be able to read the book, and then review it, and then watch this episode again, this two-parter. It's more like a TV movie mini-series type thing. It's really two episodes put into one big episode. Again, both of the episodes premiered on the same night they came out on TV. I don't know where they came out. I don't know if it was Fox Kids where Goosebumps started. I assume that's what it is. It's about 45 minutes long in total with the two episodes together. And it is absolutely the biggest Halloween treat you could ever give yourself. As much as I love the first Halloween Michael Myers John Carpenter movie, as much as I love the Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween from Billy and Mandy, or Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, that old TV show that I love so much. I've watched the Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween episode every single year since it came out on TV, and then I had the DVD that came out. But this is a really special thing I wish I had watched more, because I loved it. This was not this exact copy, but there was a copy of the VHS tape out at Hollywood Video, where my family rented our VHS tapes and DVDs and stuff when I was growing up. Before, you know, Blockbuster was big, and Blockbuster kind of started everything, I think, with rental stores. And yet, Hollywood Video was more special, at least where the one I went to was at. I loved it. It was amazing. I have so many wonderful memories of the weird floors with all the yellow and red and blue and white paint splattered all over them. The bags of this neon blue, you know, bagging that had cotton candy inside of it. You had the gumball machine, all these beautiful white racks of movies. I can see it in my head and physically walk through, and there's so much nostalgia, guys, that just, it overwhelms me. And I'm almost on the verge of tears with that whole thing, talking about it too. I could not explain to the younger viewers how much those things meant to people like myself who grew up in the 90s. And that store is where I found Goosebumps and where I got into it. I suspect, as much as I've said over and over again, I love Night of the Living Dummy 3, I suspect that that might have been my first ever involvement with anything Goosebumps. But there's also that chance that Haunted Mask was. And I want to show it the same respect I showed for my review for Night of the Living Dummy 3. Haunted Mask is absolutely incredible. If it came out in 1995, that means we're almost on the 25th anniversary of the episode. Almost. This is fantastic. It is an adaptation of the book itself. As much as I love the book, I love this episode more. It feels like Halloween in this episode. Timothy Bond is easily one of my favorite Goosebumps directors, if not my very favorite, because of Night of the Living Dummy 3 and how it felt like such a big budget movie type thing, and then this. He does so much with so little. You know, these might have been the more expensive Goosebumps episodes from the entire TV franchise when it was on TV. And yet, this is clearly meticulously put together. It has so much compassion put into it. It has so much of a focus on adapting in a very clever way. So many different things that I'm not going to spoil for you here. But it does so many things that it changes in a smart way. And yet it's completely, almost entirely faithful to what the novel was that R.L. Stine wrote for us all those years ago, back in the 90s. If you've missed this episode, you've missed a wonderful thing. If you haven't read the book, you missed something special too, but I think this particular episode, or these two-part episodes, are so special and so beautiful in the way they're crafted. Especially this one. This is the first ever couple of episodes of the original Goosebumps show. And everything about it screams the 1990s. Everything about it screams my childhood. When I watch it, I think about the memories and the feelings and the emotions that I felt at that time when my grandmother was still alive in this house where I've sort of pretty much grown up in. I had such a wonderful childhood, and Haunted Mask was one of those things that really just hit me hard, man, and it hits me hard now when I watch this. There are moments in this episode, and it might be a mixture of nostalgia, it might be a mixture of just the wonderful filmmaking from Timothy Bond himself, but there's something here that gives me chills every time I watch this episode. I don't know what it is, I don't know how to explain it, I don't know if anybody else feels the same way I feel about this. This is a creepy episode. This is a spooky episode. It's a Halloween encapsulation. It feels like somebody took Halloween and took fall and October and put it in a bottle. It's everything that you remember in the 90s when you were a kid and you got to dress up and nobody decorates anymore in 2019 for Halloween. It's a shame, man. But back then people did, and this film shows that. It feels like it. Just this couple of episodes bring me back to my childhood when I dressed up like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees and so many other things. It's amazing. I could not recommend the episode enough to you if you haven't already seen my infatuation talking about it in this video. For anybody who doesn't, for whatever reason, happen to be watching this video and not know what Haunted Mask is about, I will cover the story a little bit for you. Of course, I'll cover the adaptation itself, not entirely because I'm a spoiler-free channel, but I will talk about some other things that I love so much desperately about this episode. Now, to start off, there's a girl named Carly Beth, and she is pretty much picked on by everybody. She and her friend at the very beginning of the episode, unlike the book, are going out to find a pumpkin in the middle of nowhere at dark. And they happen to run across two guys that are their friends, but also kind of pick on them all the time. They're more of bullies in this episode adaptation of the book, versus in the book they're just kind of friends who like to pick on Carly Beth because she's always scared of everything. Whereas in this episode, like I said, they are kind of just bullies. They're just mean to Carly, plain and simple. And they kind of go after Sabrina sometimes, but mostly Carly, because Carly is so vulnerable. She's so gullible and naive and innocent and trustworthy and so many things like that. And the girl they got to play Carly Beth, I know there are moments in the episode, and in Goosebumps TV history in general, that are not the most well acted. But this girl absolutely stole the show with what she did as Carly Beth. Everything that Carly is in the book, that's one of the things I talked about in my review that I uploaded tonight for the novel. Carly Beth is probably the most relatable and probably the best protagonist, if not just basic human character, to come out of Goosebumps entirely, in its entirety, because of how sweet and how caring and loving and sad that she is. Because she doesn't want to be the victim anymore. She's tired of being scared all the time, tired of being everybody's target all the time. At some point, younger viewers, you're going to have a point in your life where you're going to feel like Carly Beth. And myself, I'm almost 25 years old next month, and I feel at times like this. I've had moments in my life that I felt like this poor girl. That's probably weird to say that as a grown man, but still, it relates to you at some point. You're going to realize that. And the themes and the messages of this episode are going to hit you in a way when you get older and people around you have passed away and whatnot. There are certain things to this that hit me in a new way. I haven't seen this episode in so long, this two-part episode, whatever, in so long that it just, I don't know how to explain to you. It rocked my world tonight when I watched it. I'm going to have a hard time sleeping tonight. Not because it was scary, which it is, but more of the nostalgia and the emotion that comes with this for me, emotionally baggage-wise, I guess. Timothy Bond, once again, has, like I said, done something in my life that impacted me as a person. With Night of the Living Dummy 3, that's a big, big, big influence on my writing. It's a big influence on my childhood, you know, and this is another one, too, that I never really remember a lot of the time about how important Haunted Mask was until I sit down and watch it. And I'm thankful I got a VHS copy. It's hard to find that now. I was very pleased that God allowed me to even have that in my life and to be able to watch it this year and talk about it with you guys here on YouTube. But man, this poor girl, she's so beat down and so tired of everybody always being so mean and just cruel to her because of how she's scared of everything. And she doesn't really even trust her best friend for that matter, even though she loves her, because her best friend laughs when these guys, Chuck and Steve, are mean to her. And so she decides this year she's going to take her life savings, which is $30, and she's going to go out to this new little party store that recently opened up in their town and buy a Halloween mask that would be absolutely terrifying, and she's going to go scare Chuck and Steve. And she's going to change. She's going to be very different. She's going to stop being a victim. And it goes pretty south. She ends up going to the mask store with her money. And when she looks around, she's not really too impressed with what she sees. She likes the store overall, but not the masks within it all that much. She wants something scary, just plumb out scary. And the shop owner's very weird compared to what he's like in the book. In the book, he's very much like a Vincent Price type of guy. The way he's described as his looks and everything, he's pretty much Vincent Price. Here in the episode, he's just kind of spooky, weird Vincent Price, you know, but without the mustache, without Vincent Price as a cameo or anything like that, which is sad. I wish he'd gotten to be in this. I think he would have done it. I really do. As popular as it wasn't, as many kids knew Vincent Price, even from the Scooby-Doo show that he was in, 13th Ghost, or 13 Ghosts, whatever it was. Kids knew who Vincent Price was. Adults love Vincent Price as well. I love Vincent Price, but I think he would have been great in this if he could have been in it. Anyway, the store owner tells her to just kind of look around. She has 5 minutes to look. She starts browsing around, and she gets to pretty much a back room that had a door cracked that the store owner happened to be in at the time when she first walked in. And there's a row of masks, about 5 or 6 of them, and one in particular catches her eye. They're all scary. They're all just plumb out, creepy, horrific looking things, but there's one in particular that has this really green, kind of like when you see people get sick, like physically sick in real life, and they have like this pale green face. It's like that, but like almost like a brain close to the skin type thing. Like it's really, really gross, big bulbous head, and it has these gigantic fangs made of rubber. And Carly Beth immediately is obsessed with this mask, and she wants it. She wants that to be the one that she can scare Chuck and Steve and everybody else around the neighborhood and everything with. And the store owner does not want to give it to her. And she ends up, unlike in the book, where she kind of talks him into it, and maybe there's this influence by the mask itself that's haunted. It's not like that. Here, she just grabs the mask, and she runs away out of the door, and she throws the money to the caretaker, owner, or whatever you want to call him, and runs out the door, and she's basically stolen the mask. This whole episode is focused so much on Carly Beth, a sweet young girl, kind of like people might be watching in the audience, losing themselves to wanting to stop being a victim, losing themselves to wanting to be a taker of vengeance, a person who wants to be the attacker this time round. It's a very dark episode. It's a very dark book, for that matter. And to be a kids episode, to be the first episode of the Goosebumps TV show, which has such an enormous reputation for such silly and goofy nonsense throughout a lot of the episodes, and I've reviewed quite a few of them here on my channel. I know, I have exposure to how goofy some of these are. To be so dark and so scary and so beautiful at the same time, the way this is executed in this entire episode, it's just special. It's special for a kids TV show, it's special for a kids movie, if you want to just go ahead and call it a movie. It's special in so many ways that I don't think any kids entertainment based around Halloween has come close to it. Maybe Charlie Brown, but that's not even close to what this is, because that's not scary. This is. This episode has some creepy things in it. I mean, things... We've come such a long way with CGI, and there is some CGI used in here. But some of the CGI used in this episode still affects me to this day. I remember the feelings when I watched it and the chills that I got this time around, even. It was the same feeling that I got back then when I watched it for one of the first times, or many of the times that I watched it around Halloween when I was growing up and I would rent it. There's something about nostalgia. It affects you, man. It really, really bothers you but it also makes you fall in love with the thing over and over again. Haunted Mask is such an amazing TV episode, TV adaptation of the book. R.L. Stine's book and its heart within that book are so well adapted here by Timothy Bond and everybody else involved. The kid actors are all good. Chuck and Steve are fine. Sabrina's fine. The mother's very good for the most part. I actually think the mother's a little bit better in the book than she is in the movie, but, you know, it's fine. But Carly Beth, like I said, that performance from that young girl is so spectacular, right? And I didn't even talk about the mask when it comes to the plot itself. We don't really know what it is. The title, of course, is called The Haunted Mask. You find out throughout the episode what this thing is. It's fantastic. I love it. I think it's such a brilliant concept. I think the handling of it in this episode and in the book itself by R.L. Stine himself are just genius. I mean, genuinely genius. I love it. I think everything about it's great. And even the store owner kind of acting like Loomis from Halloween is great too. That kind of works really well to be kind of the the opposite to the mask in Carly's situation that she gets stuck in with this mask. But the mask itself, when Carly Beth puts it on, something changes. Her voice changes. It becomes very raspy, very deep, very mean. She herself becomes mean. She kind of becomes a little destructive, you know? Kind of like a kid on sugar. And she just changes, and she doesn't really recognize it herself at first. And the people around her that are being affected by this, whether it be neighbors, whether it be Sabrina, her best friend, or anybody around her, it's just really fascinating to watch, and I love the execution of it. Like I said, this episode is a great example, like Night of the Living Dummy 3, directed by Timothy Bond, that it doesn't feel like a Goosebumps TV episode, which are very low-budget episodes in Canada. This feels like a movie. It feels like a movie, and that's what I've referred to it as a movie a couple of times now in the video itself. This is so special. It is a special gem from the 90s. It's a special gem from the kids' horror genre in general. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out. You're missing out tremendously. You have no idea how desperately you're missing out. The Haunted Mask is just perfect as an episode. Almost. There's little things here and there that are nitpicks. Like with the CGI thing, it's not timeless in that regard. But the message of this episode, the execution of it, the feeling, the decorations, even from the 90s all over the place, even the bags the kids carry around to put their trick-or-treating candy in, the costumes, all of these things, they're so 1990s, and I love it. I love everything about it. I think it might be a personal thing. I know a lot of people out there might be like, you're just saying it's great because you're from the 90s and you're nostalgic towards it. That's fair. If you want to say that, that's fine. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's genuinely one of the most well-made Halloween things ever. Again, it has some problems with some faulty CGI that really didn't age all that well, but it's effective nonetheless. Tell me it wasn't. In the couple of instances it was used, I think it was still effective to this day. I'll tell you this. No matter how old you are, no matter how smart you think you are or anything, I genuinely believe in some aspect that if you watch Haunted Mask and you don't read the book, or if you read the book, it doesn't really matter. I think if you watch this two-parter on VHS, or whether you watch it on digital or anything like that, it will affect you in some way emotionally. Whether it be being scared because of some of the creepier imagery in it, whether it be because of, like with Carly Beth herself, there's one particular scene where Carly Beth is in her room crying, and I think most people will know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it. It's gut-wrenching, honestly. It gets me every time I watch it because of the performance of that young actress. She did such a good job. Check out The Haunted Mask, folks. It is just plain out probably the best episode. My personal favorite is Not a Living Dummy 3, but this could very well be the best episode of Goosebumps ever. And probably the best Halloween Goosebumps thing we'll ever get, compared to Haunted Halloween and so many other things. Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns is good, but nowhere near this. This is special. This is really, really special, and I could not recommend it enough to you folks if you haven't seen it. What are your thoughts on the Haunted Mask episode, or episodes, since it's a two-parter? What do you think about it? Put your thoughts in comments down below, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode, on the VHS tape, with a cool little sneak peek for Tower of Terror at the beginning of it, which was really neat. Whether it be the books, or, you know, any of the books. There's 4 of these novels now based around the Haunted Mask. There's Haunted Mask 2, which is also a classic book. Then you have Scream of the Haunted Mask from the Horrorland series. I think it's like book number 4 or something. And then the 4th book of the Haunted Mask series pretty much is just Goosebumps 1 of the Haunted Mask, which is my personal favorite, but it doesn't come as close to the heart that's in this first book that's being adapted here. And I realize that now after rereading it. But what are your thoughts on all these things? I would love to hear what you have to say about it. What are your thoughts on the Haunted Mask 2 DVD? Or, well, episode, I guess, is what I mean, more than DVD. I would love to hear all your thoughts down below, guys, about everything you think about the Haunted Mask stuff in general. Is this R.L. Stine's best thing from Goosebumps? I would love to hear that, especially down below, just to know what everybody kind of genuinely thinks about this. This is the perfect time of the year, with it being today is October 4th. This is the perfect day of the year to watch The Haunted Mask. This is the perfect month for that. And again, it hits me in a way because of my nostalgia and my childhood and so many wonderful things I was blessed with in my life. It reminds me of my life that's gone, like with my grandmother that's passed away and everything. And I will never forget the feeling that I had growing up watching this. Young people, I'm telling you, don't forget what you've been given. Don't take what you have around you at this current moment for granted, because of how special those things are, and you're going to realize that one day. I promise you. And this episode makes me realize that. I shouldn't have been as emotional as I am in this video, but I can't help it. One day you'll realize. And for folks that are older like myself or older than me already, you know. You know. I don't have to tell you anything. You know. But anyway, when it comes to rating this Haunted Mask episode on a 5-star basis, is there any question that it's going to get a 5 out of 5? Because it is getting a 5 out of 5 from me. It is perfect in every possible way it could be. Of course, my ratings are kind of more focused on enjoyability rather than quality. I think it's absolutely amazing. I could not recommend it enough if you haven't seen it. You're missing out if you haven't seen it. It's perfect. It is genuinely creepy, it's sad, it's emotional, and it's sweet at the very ending. And I love it. I couldn't recommend it enough. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts? Put them down below. Thank you for watching, and may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today. And goodbye. Happy Halloween, by the way. Be careful. God bless you.